Hey, what up, y'all? It's your player partner, Cardo Mac, chilling here in Woodlake, California today with CEO of 11550 Records, Kriminal. What's up, brother?
What's up, Cardo Mac?
How are you doing?
I'm doing.
You're doing?
I'm doing.
It's been a while. I haven't seen you like in 3 years.
Maybe a little longer, but
Yeah?
time flies. It
Time
seems
flies,
like
it does,
yesterday
huh?
I saw you.
Yeah. When we were in the studio.
Yeah, I like your new whip, man.
Thanks. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the first interview here in the Chicano style TV limo.
It's dope.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so the first time I heard about your music was through a DVD called From the Streets to the Studio. That was back like in what, 2006, 7?
2008,
Was it in 2008?
2008, 2007.
So I bought that DVD, and that's the first time I heard about you. So I looked for you on MySpace. I found your profile and I checked out your jams. And at the time, I think you were locked up.
Yeah.
That time.
Yeah.
So that was during the time where I got to know your music. Well, I liked your character from the DVD. I thought you were funny. So I was like, oh, let me look at this guy up.
You know what's funny about that is that the feedback I got from that DVD, a lot of people thought I wasn't that funny.
Really?
So what I mean by that is that No Love, shout out to No Love, put out that DVD, and he came up to me one time and he said, hey, Kriminal, the homies from the Bay don't like you. From that DVD. And,
So you got a bad reaction from the DVD.
you know, when he told me that, yeah, it made me feel some type of way. And he seen it. Then he turned around and said, but a lot of people love you, Creamy, in New Mexico, Utah, Colorado. They love you. And I was taken back because he hit me with the bad news first to see how I would react, and then he came back with the good news that I had a lot more love than I had hate. So it made me feel a certain type of way, you know. And
The bigger fan base was more of the love than the hate.
exactly, that's dead on. The love was more than the hate, and for the most part, the game is like that. There's a lot more love than hate. That's why we're here in Big Block Woodlake tonight doing this interview, because the love is always going to outshine the hate. You know, you can't feed into the hate because it's not going to take you nowhere, but back where you came from. So you just gotta be a wishful thinker, embrace the love, and take the hate as constructive criticism and learn from it, because some of it might be true.
So that's where I heard about your career, but your career started like way before that. But take us back. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background. Were you born and raised here in Woodlake?
Oh yeah, for sure. I went to school here. I mean, I started my career here, and that's why you hear it in my music. I mean, I wasn't nowhere else but here, so I took me from being here in Woodlake to levels that a lot of people might never take wherever they're from to. And I can say that because everything I hear is, when I went to prison, and the first thing I said is I'm from Woodlake, they asked me, hey, you know Kriminal? And the feedback I get is, Kriminal, you're famous. I couldn't go anywhere without anybody asking me if I knew Kriminal, as soon as I say I'm from Woodlake. But at the same time, that's where the hate comes from. And
You know what? I've heard that before. Your biggest haters are from your own town.
but I wouldn't really call it hate. I just call it more like they can appreciate what you've done because it's not their name being rang out in people's ears. And I don't feel any type of way about that because it wasn't my intentions to make people feel that way when I was recording my raps and writing my raps. Those weren't ever my intentions. Whatever the people that don't like it are saying about it now, I can't explain because, like I said, those weren't my intentions for my music to be hated on. And for the most part, I've heard it all, and I know that there's a lot more love out there for my music than hate. But if you let the hate get to you, then like I said, your career is not going to flourish. So you just got to keep going, regardless what people say, regardless what people think. Because if it's not their names on the artwork, if it's not their names coming out the system, if it's not their names on the check, of course they're going to feel some type of way. But we all can't be rappers or CEOs of our own record label.
So what was it actually like growing up here in Woodlake? Because it's a small town, right? Because your music was actually where I heard about this town. You put Woodlake on the map for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about putting Woodlake on the map. I put Woodlake on the map like Eazy put Compton on the map. And that's a fact. And like I said, those weren't the intentions, but people liked what I was saying, and it didn't matter where I was from, because if you were from Santa Rosa, San Jose, Sacramento, Chico, Gilroy, Watsonville, Salinas, they were embracing where I was from because they were feeling my flow. And when I would write my flow, I would keep everybody in mind. But rapping about your hoods, that's what rap is all about, That's how I first heard of rap, everybody talking about where they're from. So I just wanted to let you know where I'm from, but I was thinking more about it on a broader level. Like, I already knew I can't involve just me. I gotta be more open-minded, more universal with my music, where everybody's gonna feel my flow, no matter where I come from or where I don't come from. They're gonna have to feel some type of way about it when they hear my music. And I always kept that in mind every time I recorded.
So who are some of your musical influences growing up as a youngster? What did Kriminal about?
Okay. My musical influences as a youngster. Look, I don't want people to take this a certain type of way, because a lot of you might not understand the era I come from. When I started rapping, you got to remember, there were no Mexican rappers, period. And that's a fact. There were no Mexican rappers. I started rapping before there was Mexican rappers. Before you heard of Kid Frost, before you heard of Lighter Shade of Brown, I was already rapping. I hadn't heard of them, and I was already rapping. I started rapping when I heard Eazy-E and anybody on Eazy-E's label, Ruthless Records. That's what I was listening to. That's what drew me into the music. And you all know that when he came out, there were no Mexican rappers. So I don't want anybody to feel a certain type of way that I'm not giving props to any Chicano rappers out there today, because I was one of the first Chicano rappers to start rapping. There was no Chicano rappers when I started rapping. I was just like everybody else. I liked rap music. I wrote down some rhymes, and I started rapping. I outshined my peers. My music got around. So I became one of the first Chicano rappers. There were no Chicano rappers when I started. So for me to say that Easy was an influence, and everybody on Easy's label, Ruthless Records, Above the Law, NWA, Ice Cube, it's not me hating on my own, because, like I said, my own wasn't in the mix yet.
What about now? Who are you listening to nowadays?
Nowadays, man, there's such a
Because music's changed so much from the time that you started to now.
yeah, there's such a variety of music nowadays. I mean, I'll listen to everybody from Lazy Boy from San Jose. What's up, Lazy Boy Loke? Shout out. I'm feeling his music. Little Raider, of course. He's one of the dopest, one of the realest homie rappers I've worked with. Ghost. I see you doing your thing. Never. Shout out to Never.
For sure. Shout out to Never.
He was a big influence on my music as well. One of his albums, is which is that one? The Life of Crime. That album right there, so dope. That was he's one of my faves right there. Yeah.
So you stay listening still to Chicano rap?
Oh, I have to stay listening to Chicano rap. I mean, that's where I'm at, and that's what we're being interviewed here for today, Chicano Style TV. So of course.
As far as your name, Kriminal, is that your name as a rapper, or did you get that on the streets?
Yeah, of course, I got that on the streets. I mean, Kriminal came around the same time I started rapping, so I just took the Kriminal nickname into my rhymes, and pretty much that's how it came about. But nowadays, there's a lot of criminals out there, and I don't want to get into it too much. All I'm gonna say is that's the reason I didn't change my name. I kind of just flipped it and shortened it up to Crime, because there was a lot of times where after there started being a lot of Chicano rappers, there was a lot of criminals rapping now. Back when I started rapping, I was the only criminal rapping, but
So to distinguish yourself, you just went straight with Crime.
exactly. And I just want to let everybody know that no matter how many criminal rappers there were, none of them ever thought about shortening their names to Crime to distinguish themselves, like Cardo Max said, from the rest. And I got tired of hearing it. Man, there's like 6 Southsider criminals rapping, and there's like 3 Northerner criminals rapping. Which one are you? So when I was in prison, that's where I came up with, you know what? I'm just going to shorten my name up to Crime. So I'm not going to be a criminal no more. And that's how I'm going to distinguish myself. Because when I hit the streets again, I'm going to be introducing myself to a whole new set of faces. So when I introduce myself, I'm just going to introduce myself as Crime. And there's not going to be no more Kriminal. So they're not going to be able to mock my name or or hate
Confuse you for somebody
or
else.
confuse me for somebody else, so I'll be crime. And that's where I came up with that when I was sitting in prison, because I started feeling some type of way about people telling me, yeah, there's all kinds of criminals. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna show them something that they don't even see coming, and that's when I decided to shorten my name up to crime. Of course, I still kept the capital K in front of it and added the 11550 at the end.
Why'd you decide to flip it to a K instead of a C?
At the time, I didn't want to be looked at as a real criminal, because the definition of a criminal would be spelled with a C. So, since I was rapping, I said, you know what? I'm not that type of criminal. I'm a different type of criminal. I'm a MC criminal. I'm a lyrical criminal. That's why I went with the K.
Now, I told you that I heard about your music through the DVD back in 2008, but your career started way, way before that.
Yeah.
How far back did it go?
Yeah, 2008, I had already put out my first EP 10 years prior, 1998, and that was called 11550 Raps. It was an EP, 7 tracks. I recorded with Sonny Boy Youngster. Shout out to Sonny Boy Youngster.
Shout out, Sonny Boy.
Yeah, he helped me record that first EP. I put it out, and that was my first commercial album. But for me to get to that commercial status, I had already been rapping years back. So,
But not recorded content, just
exactly. Okay.
just freestyling for the homies, or just at parties, or
You know what? I first started like that, but I started doing shows. Because back then there was a lot of car shows, there was a lot of dances, and there was a promoter here in Tulare County. His name was Dave Chavez. Rest in peace, Dave Chavez. Huggy Bear. He was doing legit shows. He was a good promoter for back then. He was bringing in Zap. He was bringing in Mary Wells. He was bringing in Brenton Wood. He was bringing in some top-notch headliners, and I started seeing the flyers around. And the first time I went to a shop, it was in Visalia, right in front of the Oval. Anybody my age is gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. It was right there. It's called Northside Records and Tapes. He sold tapes, cassettes, because there wasn't no CDs yet. There was just cassettes. So I went into a shop and I told them, hey, you think I could rap at your show? You know what he told me?
what'd he say?
Hell no.
So did he know what you were gonna rap about?
No. I told him I'm a rapper, and if he wanted me to open at his shows. And he said, hell no. Because he wasn't... See, this is what I mean about... I was so early into the game that there was no rappers opening for his shows.
He wasn't a rap promoter.
No, he was a dance promoter, bringing in groups like Mary Wells, Brenton Wood, Zap.
Very well-known music.
Yes. And this is about the time that rap was barely, coming out. So I was a Mexican already rapping. And I went into a shop. I asked him. He said, hell no.
Not even trying to hear it.
So I just said, hey, let me check out that tape. Okay, let me check out this tape. I'd buy a couple tapes, tell him thanks, and leave. Come back, ask him again, hey, can I rap at your show? Same answer, hell no. And
Not just no, hell no.
yeah, because like I said, there was no there was nobody rapping. He wasn't bringing in rappers. He was bringing in funk music groups for the dances and stuff, And I would tell him, let me open up for your show, and he would be like, hell no. He didn't even ask me, well, let me listen, what you got. So
He didn't even give you the opportunity.
no, he didn't. So what ended up happening is that we had to get at somebody that knew him on a more personal level, that knew us, and asked him if he can please give us a chance to perform at his shows. And he did. And after that, the shows didn't stop, I had my set recorded on tape. I'd open up for the shows. I was opening up for Zap. I was opening up for Mary Wells.
What years was this?
This was 91.
So you had already recorded your EP by then?
No. This was 91.
These were just sample tracks that you had on a cassette?
These were just tracks I recorded for the shows. They weren't even full tracks. Because like I said, I wasn't known. I was just opening up as a...
They were just demos of what you could do then. And that's what you were performing.
Yeah. So I would just do like a verse and a hook, and then it jump into another song. Well, my whole set was like 20 minutes long. But they weren't complete songs.
But that's long for an opening act.
Yeah, but I think...
You wanted the whole show.
I think 15 minutes was too short. So it was around 15, 20 minutes. But I performed the same stuff all the time at every show. So I started getting better and better. And Dave saw that my performances drew a crowd. So Dave, by this time, there was Chicano rappers. There was, well, I'm just going to tell you what Dave was doing. He was bringing in Kid Frost. He was bringing in Proper Dose. He was bringing in Lighter Shade of Brown. And I was already on stage with all these rappers. I was doing shows with these guys.
And they were all big time at the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were. That's why Dave started bringing them in. Because they were on the radio too. So I was opening up for them. Because he saw that when people liked my set, that, hey, you know what? I guess these rapping guys ain't bad. Maybe...
They already have their following.
Yeah, because remember, when I was asking him, hey, can I rap? He wasn't a rap promoter. Rap was barely taking off. So he wasn't sure about it either.
But then he saw the crowd it could generate.
Yes, then he started seeing from my performances that, hey, man, maybe these rappers are onto something. Because rappers to him were new too. Rappers were new to him too. So
he wasn't knowing if it was going to be a fad or if it was going to hit.
Yeah, he was one of them people, because a lot of people didn't know how long rap was going to last when I started rapping. They didn't know how long it was going to last. I
will take it for granted now, but back then you weren't knowing.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was a fad. I would hear that all the time. It's not going to last. And that's when I started my career. So I've been doing it for a minute. And I was opening up for all these established rappers already. And it was in 91 where a certain time at a show that it must have clicked in Dave's head that, hey, you know what? Why am I bringing in all these guys, Proper Dose, Lighter Shade of Brown, Kid Frost, when I have my star here already? And that was me. But it took him a while for him to see that.
Were you the first local guy in that area, or was there other rappers? as
No,
well?
I was the only one doing that, you know, and I was the only one doing that, and they look it. Dave would bring in Proper Dose and all of them. They would Proper Dose would borrow Dave's Cadillac and cruise around Tulare County. I would see them cruising around, and I was already on the same set to do the show that night with them. But out of respect for Dave, we didn't start no funk, because back then there was no such thing as a gang truce. But out of respect for Dave, we didn't start no funk. I was just rapping, and it came to the point where the crowds were just going out to see me perform. Even if it was a Spanish Fly on the headliner, I was drawing in more crowd. Well, around here, of course, around my area, I was drawing in the crowd. And there was a time that I think the bulb clicked in Dave's head that, hey, you know, why am I spending money bringing in all these acts when I got my star here already? Because I was drawing that type of crowd by then.
So then, at one point, did he try to push you as his own artist?
Okay, this is what happened. Because he didn't tell me this straight up, but this is what he was telling me. He told me, hey, you know what? How about you record some songs for the radio, and I'll take them and see if I could get them played. Just record me some tracks that I could play on the radio, is what he told me.
Is that something that you had already thought about doing, or you were just doing music for the streets?
Yeah, when he told me for the radio, I wasn't thinking about the radio. I was already performing for him at shows, but radio, I wasn't thinking that. He came at me and said, hey, I want you to record some raps that I could play on the radio, and let me see what I could do with them. He never told me, you're my star. You know, I'm not going to be bringing in all these other guys. But now that I think about it, that's
where it was going.
That's where it was going. He was going to invest in me recording tracks so that I could be his rap guy. Instead of bringing in everybody else, he already had me because he saw me bringing in the crowds already.
So do you remember the name of the track?
The actual track I recorded for him, I don't. I just know that it got played on Radio Campesina, and I was there at the station. A DJ named Mr. Sandman played it. He was blind. And he said, hey, we're going to play your track next. Man, when he was playing my track, the radio station got so many phone calls. It was crazy. I had all my homies there with me. Man, that was one of the best times in my life right there. Just that feeling.
This was in the early 90s?
This was 91. 1990. And the DJ was saying, DJ Sandman was saying, they're going to be performing at so-and-so dance. And man, that dance right there, I mean, I don't care who they brought to that dance. Everybody went to see me for that dance. And that's when he came back at me and he asked for me to record him some more songs that he could take to the radio and see what he could do with them. But unfortunately, a little bit after that, Dave passed away, you know. Rest in peace, Dave Chavez, Huggy Bear.
So he had a lot to do with your career.
You know what? If he hadn't passed away, I would have been one of the biggest Chicano rappers today. As far as
you'll credit that to him.
to him, because remember, he was already working with Zap. He was already working with Brenton Wood. He was already rubbing shoulders with Mary Wells. He had all the connections already.
So it'd have been easy to do a collaboration with even all those original artists,
Not
which
only
is a big part of Chicano rap.
not only that, but he knew where to go. He had what to the radios, and if he didn't know, all he had to do was turn around and ask somebody from Zap. So he had the connections and the money. By the way, remember he owned a mom and pop's record store.
Now, 11550, that's the name of your record label, right? Which I'm wearing a T-shirt of it. I don't know if you guys can see it.
That's dope. 11550 Records. Yeah.
So what made you want to become an actual CEO of a record label versus just being an artist?
Okay. CEO. Wow, man. That's an important title, but it's just something that we had to do because there wasn't nobody else that was gonna put our music out for us. So we had to create. How can I say?
So when you did the label, was it strictly just for yourself, or were you thinking about getting other artists and signing other artists as well?
No, it was strictly to put out myself. But like I said, there was nobody else that was going to do it for us. And what I was going to say is not mimicking or copycatting the major labels. Well, if I got to put myself out, I got to do it as a label. And I don't know, it's kind of funny that everybody wanted a label too at the same time. Everybody wanted their own record label, you know? So I chose 11550 and
Why'd you go with that name? Or for those that don't know, could you explain what the name means?
11550 Records. Let me see. How could I explain this? It's a penal code that police officers use. If you get cited on under the influence of a controlled substance, but it falls under the health and safety code. So 115. That's what a lot of people knew 11550 from. That's where I got it from. But for me, it was another way of saying dope. Dope records.
Kind of like the Chronic, how Dr. Dre went with the Chronic saying it's dope.
Yeah. So a lot of people associate 11550 to dope. So that was my way of saying dope records. You know, not too long ago here.
Music's dope.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You got it.
I get it, but some other people might not understand.
It's complicated. I'm not gonna lie. It's complicated. It's complicated, but you gotta think like that. At least
because you have an artist's mind, so you think more into it.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Like there's a story behind the story type of deal. But I was gonna tell you is not too long ago here. Me and my primo were out and about cruising, and we pulled over to take a leak, and you've been around here. There's a lot of open fields and stuff. So we were out in one of them fields taking a leak, and we were getting back in the car. A sheriff came up on us, and you know, he called us out. You know, ran our names, and sure enough, as he took a closer look, he started checking out my tattoos, and he said, "Hey, what's that you got on your hands?" And I said, 11550. He's all, "You use dope?" And I said, "Something like that." He's all, "Man, can I take a picture? That's dope."
The cop told you that?
The sheriff told me, "Can I take a picture of that? That's dope." He had tattoos too, but not like mine. And I said, "Yeah, go ahead." But I thought it
They
was.
say, who's your artist?
I thought it was. I thought it was funny, and
But he wasn't tripping off it.
no, no. He was just like, "Man, let me take a picture of that."
He's giving you props on how clean it looked.
Probably so. But at the same time, I think that he's never seen that tattooed on anybody. Like, it was a first for him. He's probably rolling up a lot of citations for 11550.
But does somebody have it on their hands?
Yeah,
Like, what?
but for somebody to have it on their hands, I think it threw him off a little bit, and he was like, "Wow, let me take a picture of that." He probably went back to the station and showed all his buddies, So I mean, I'm glad that I named my label that. It was also because that is me, recreational drug user. I'm not gonna say addict because we would be doing this interview from me behind the jail cell right now if I was that type of person. I'm just like anybody else out there, recreational drug use, I like to party. And like I said, if I had any type of drug problem, I think that we'd be having this interview with me sitting behind the cell, or me calling you, "Hey, Cardo Mac, man, can you accept my collect call?" And let me give you some Kriminal trivia right here, some fun facts. Even if my label 11550 Records means what it means, everybody out there knows it means under the influence. Me myself, I don't have a 11550 on my rap sheet. I've never been cited for that. I've never been arrested for that. I've never been to prison for that. And so whatever anybody thinks about it, hey.
It goes to show that wasn't the original reason why you picked that name for your record label.
Well, I mean, yes, yeah, but no, but yeah, because like I said, I was partying. I still party, but I gotta keep it real. I mean, if I wasn't rapping about it, then that would be me not keeping it real. And I know everybody out there parties too, I'm not the only one out there partying. That's why I would rap about it, because a lot of people around me party. So it was just a way of me of keeping it as real as I can. Not promoting it, kids, say no to drugs. But, if I'm doing it, then that's what I'm going to rap about, because me trying to hide it is the same as me trying to lie about it. And I think in the long...
Kept it real no matter what about your lyrics.
Yeah, because in the long run, I think someone would respect that more than trying to cover it up or trying to deny it, because the truth is always going to come out anyways. So why not be truthful from the gate? And I think in the long run, a lot more people respect the music today because of that. Because they know too that they party as well. We've all tried something once or twice, some more than others. But like I said, if there was a real problem with me, I wouldn't be here doing this interview with Cardo Mac today, or Chicano style TV. I'd be writing to him, asking him if he could send a care package or something, the soup lovers pack or something.
So as far as your record label, eventually did you get some artists signed to your label?
Yeah, I've had a few artists signed to my label. Big Regal, the Big Block Beast. If y'all haven't heard that album, go check it out. Shout out to Big Regal.
Which you just passed by earlier.
Yeah, maybe he'll come back around. Ñoño Brown, the Londonero. Shout out to Ñoño Brown. I do some group albums with Sonny Boy Youngster. Shout out to Sonny Boy Youngster. Raza Loca.
Which I wanted you to talk about Sonny Boy Youngster as well, because a lot of his music and your music I heard together as you guys as collaborations.
Yeah. You know what? Me and Sonny Boy.
He wasn't signed to your label, right? You guys were just good friends.
Sonny Boy Youngster's been there with me since the gate. When I was doing those shows for Northside Records and Tapes, he was doing the shows too. So, excuse me. He was there from the gate with me. So when I say I was doing shows, I wasn't solo. I wasn't going to these shows by myself. I had a posse. Back then it was called posse. You know, we were the MRM, the Mexican rap mob. You know, that was my crew. That's who I would go to the shows with. Of course, I was the rapper, but I had the homies behind me, and I was being presented as a Mexican rap mob, and me, Kriminal. Sonny Boy Youngster had his crew. I forgot the name of his crew, but you know, after Dave died, I kind of stopped the rap. You know, I stopped rapping for some years. That was 91, 92. I think I stopped rapping until about maybe 95, 96. I might have picked it up again because
But that was still before your EP, right?
Yeah, that was still before my EP. But around 95 and 96, I picked it up again. And it took me still a couple more years before I actually recorded that first EP, 11550 Raps. But what I wanted to say about Sonny Boy Youngster is, from those 3 years, I ran into him. And I asked him about, hey man, you know, are you still with your crew? Nah, he wasn't. And I was like, me either. So
that's when you guys linked up?
I said, how about me and you start a group now? And he was with it. So that's where Raza Loca came from. The group Raza Loca. We got 2 albums. Raza Loca Northside. That was our first album. And I'm sorry to the fans, but I might not ever put it out because the copy I had was on CD and it got all scratched. But if I do happen to get another copy,
was there only like one master copy out there, or somebody might have it out there as like fan wise?
Well, yeah, somebody might have it out there fan wise because we put it out as a cassette, and I know we pressed a lot of cassettes. So somebody out there might have a copy of it.
Hardcore collector out there, and somebody has it.
Yeah, somebody has it because...
If you have it, hit up Kriminal so we can repress.
Yeah, man, that'd be dope, you know. As a matter of fact, Sonny Boy Youngster showed you a picture of the copy on your interview with him.
That's right, yeah.
Well, that's the cover to that album. And we recorded that album, and... we recorded that album after we recorded Kriminal 11550 Raps, my first EP. So that was after we recorded that. Sonny Boy Youngster helped me with it. That's when I said, hey, Sonny Boy, me and you should do something. Sonny Boy Youngster helped me record my first EP, 11550 Raps. And we recorded that in all-nighter in one night.
All the tracks?
All the tracks. You know what? Sonny Boy Youngster is good at making beats. I don't know why he didn't stick with it, but he made all the beats on that album. You know, he was real good with playing by ear with those keys.
He's just a natural good producer.
I feel he was. I don't know what he thinks of it, but yeah, because he's produced a couple of dope tracks, you know. But back to what I was saying about um starting the group Raza Loca. Uh, I dropped my EP. I pressed it up myself on cassette. Um, I told Sonny, why don't we start the group Raza Loca? We recorded that first Raza Loca album, Northside, and then we started selling them. Back then, we were selling them at the swap meets, carnivals, car shows, wherever there was a flock of people, we were there. We were there. And I walked into the warehouse, records and tapes one day, and I told them, hey man, you know, can you guys sell my music? And they said they would have to hit up their regional manager because I was bringing it up off the streets. It wasn't even a distributor. It was just me walking.
And that's not how it worked?
No, I was just walking up in there saying, hey, can you guys sell my tape? They're like, you know, who's this distributor? And I am. Is this all you got? Yeah, this is all I got. And even for them back then, I think it was something new, and they gave me a shot, and yeah,
At least they didn't reject you right away without even knowing. They went out of their way to go ask if they
yeah. So when I got the okay, and I came back and I dropped them off, they stayed. It just started because it was on consignment, so they were just like, just give us a few copies and we'll see what they do. Man, they did. That guy called me back like, hey man, we sold those tapes. Can you bring us some more? Sure. And I was on it. You know, that tape, 11550 Raps, made me famous in Tulare County, if anything. You know, and they say, if you ain't famous from the place you're coming from, you ain't never gonna be famous anywhere else. So you gotta show up where you're from first before you can even think of being heard of anywhere else. You know, and that 11550 Raps did that for me. And you gotta use your imagination here and remember that there was no social media back then. So for a cassette to get heard, it had to be dope as fuck, and
you had to physically go out there
and I had to physically go out there and push it. And I know that they were selling a lot out of the warehouse, and then I brought in the Raza Loca that I recorded with Sonny Boy Youngster, and that one too. I think that one sold more, was selling more than my solo because it had more songs. It had more songs, and they already recognized that I was Kriminal from the EP, but now they were listening to Sonny Boy Youngster, and everybody says that we made a good chemistry.
Yeah, a good partnership. Yeah,
I feel the same way. You know, shout out to Sonny Boy Youngster again, man.
I mean, your music just goes hand in hand.
It does, and I think it was because we're from the same area, and like I said, after our crews were no more, we still were like, hey man, we should do something, you know?
That's kind of the perfect opportunity for you guys to link up.
Yeah, it was. And at the time, I didn't know it was going to have the type of impact that it does nowadays, you know? A lot of people hear Sonny Boy Youngster's name, and Kriminal follows suit. A lot of people hear Kriminal's name, and Sonny Boy Youngster's name follows suit, you know? So shout out to Sonny Boy Youngster, man.
Let's talk about your albums now. How many albums did you actually put out in your career?
I didn't put out many albums. 5 albums. Of course, the EP that we've been talking about, 11550 Raps, was my first 7 tracks. Mi Vida Loca followed suit.
That's the first one that I actually bought off of you, and that was at Rasputin, I think, in Fresno. And it was just there. There was a big old stack of them there, and I was like, "Oh, Kriminal, that's that guy that I just seen." So I bought your CD.
Okay. Yeah. When From the Streets to the Studio dropped, my CD dropped as well with it, and after that,
Now that I remember, yeah, I bought them the same day.
okay. So after that, Mi Vida Loca, I dropped my third album, Ready for Eternity. That's what I'm wearing tonight for the interview. My Ready for Eternity album, right here.
We'll do a little close up.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I want to give you a little Kriminal trivia right here. So a fun fact. You know, this album right here, it happens to have the Mexican flag. You know, it happens to have the Mexican flag, and when I dropped it, a lot of people weren't feeling it
Really? Why is that?
because of the Mexican flag. A lot of people weren't feeling it. They told me that it looked too paisa and this and that, and basically it was hate. Now that I think of it, they were just hating, you know, because that album came out in 2004. That album came out in 2004. I know what you're thinking, Cardo Mac. You know, but wait, I bought Mi Vida Loca in 2008. You gotta remember, I repressed my music when I came out of prison because
It just got repressed at different time periods.
yes, because remember I started rapping in the 90s. So there was no social media. So I had already recorded these albums, but they didn't make the type of impact until social media came about. You understand what I mean?
That helped you push your music further than you could have.
But it was the same music I had already recorded because I knew it was good music, you know? So I just repressed it. And I know the timeline threw you off right now, but I'm giving you the real timeline when I really recorded these albums. So you gotta use your imagination here and think of it at the time that I was dropping them. That what the fans have told me is that, man, that music was dope. For the time that it really dropped, those tracks were banging, and they tell me they're still banging. They still bang them, they say, you know. So this album came out in 2004, and like I said, a lot of people were hating because of the cover had a Mexican flag. But you know what? If you think about it, in today's time, there's a lot of you rappers out there that wish you would have put the Mexican flag on your album covers. A lot of you did it. There's very few people that represented the roots, and
That's why you did it. You were very proud of it.
I was proud of it because it was custom drawn for me, you know.
Which is another thing I was going to get into about all your album covers. What I noticed, they were all drawings. And if you know what's up, you could tell they were prison drawings. So if you could give us a little background of why your albums were those covers.
Yeah, they were drawn by my brother. He was doing some time in prison, and he would send home a lot of artwork. And I just got it in my head one day, like, hey man, my brother draws badass. Why don't I just ask him to draw me something for my album cover? You know? So it started with that Kriminal, Mi Vida Loca. I told him, hey bro, I'm working on this album. Can you draw me something custom? But make sure that it says Kriminal in there somewhere. And he came up with the album cover that everybody knows nowadays. And yeah, man, I loved it. I got it pressed up.
Was that the first thing that he did for you that you actually showed?
Yeah. I mean, I had already seen a lot of his artwork, but it just came to my mind.
That you put out there, I mean.
Yeah, that I put out there. Yeah, was Mi Vida Loca. So at the time, I didn't even think nothing of it. I just said, hey, I'm going to drop a new album. I'm going to ask my brother to draw me another cover for it. And it was this one. So after this one, I put out 559 Afilianos. And it was the same thing. I just kept asking my brother, hey man, can you draw me something? And that's how my album covers came about. Just
that one was a portrait of you though, right?
Yeah, but it was still a drawing.
Yeah.
It's still a drawing, gangster as fuck, And if anybody that knows about arte, you could tell those drawings were coming straight from the pen. That's another thing I liked about those covers, that maybe
they were all authentic.
They were all authentic, original gangster, and I knew that anybody that was real would recognize real. And if they seen that album cover somewhere, they'd have to pick it up and if anything, they'd have to pick it up and take a look at the drawing. Even if they didn't hear the music, they were going to have to look at that drawing.
Well, the drawing's what grabbed your attention. You got it, and then you flipped it over and read the names of the songs and stuff.
Yeah. I really didn't know if it was going to work or not, but it panned out for me pretty good, I get a lot of comments about people hearing my music for the first time because of the drawing. I knew there was something there with the drawings. I just didn't know that for a lot of people it was the drawing that they picked up the music.
That's what would pull them in.
That's what would pull them in, yeah. And
then he also started doing pretty much all your other work too, like your record label's logo, right?
Actually, that was first.
That's the first thing he did for you?
That was the first thing he did for me, the logo. That was the first drawing he did for me. Then I thought, hey, why don't I just ask him to draw the cover too? Because the logo, you see my logo.
Oh yeah, it's clean.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, right?
It's like, what, 9 pieces of paper put together?
Yeah.
Something like that?
9 8x10s.
Yeah.
So I said, why just the logo? Let me do the album covers as well, Because...
And was he with it, or did he hesitate to send them out to you?
No, he was with it. He would send me hey, am I going in the right direction?
Just like little samples to see if that's what you wanted?
Yeah, and I said, you know what, bro, I like it, but can you add this? Or can you, not add that? And, a lot of the drawings, especially Mi Vida Loca album cover, was one that shouldn't have made it ever out of the pen. CEOs confiscate any type of drawings like that
because of the content that's on it.
Because of the because of what's drawn on there. They can't let any type of mail out like that. But when you're doing the type of time my brother did, you learn to see what CEOs are the contacts that you need to let that mail out that day. When a certain CEO is working, they let the mail go that day because they already know they'll let it go. You know what I mean? So that's how I was getting all my artwork. Because, yeah, like I said,
So you had to have a certain plug, or else you weren't going to get that work.
exactly. Yeah. A little trivia about prison artwork, too, is a lot of these CEOs be taking a lot of the artist artwork home. You know?
Just keeping it for themselves.
They just keep it for themselves. Because they told my brother. Because my brother's one of the best artists out there. You know?
Some of the best artwork comes from prison.
And some of the best artwork comes from prison. And they told him when he paroled that, hey, you know, I got some of your artwork at my house, in my office.
Oh, they told him that?
Yeah, they told him that because he would draw. That was his hustle, you know. So he would draw for other people, and they would confiscate their mail, but it was my brother's drawings. So they would tell him, "I got your artwork at my house, man. It's nice, you know. I got it in my office." My brother would tell me, you know, little stories like that.
Was that your older brother or younger brother?
He's my younger brother.
Younger brother?
Yeah.
Now, as far as features, you've been featured on a lot of people's work, and a lot of people have been featured on your work. Who has been your favorite artist that you've worked with?
Man, that's a good question, Cardo Mac, because I learned early in this rap game that you can't have no favorites. You know? There's too many. I have favorite tracks. I don't have favorite artists. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's too much good rap music out there to have a favorite. I learned that early in the game, you know, because every year, you're
going to have a new favorite track.
you're gonna have a new favorite artist, right? So I just learned that there's no way you can have a favorite artist, you know. And if you say you do, it better be true, because I can't.
Once you mention one, somebody else isn't going to want to help you out no more.
Yeah, and I learned from the gay. There's no such thing as a favorite artist, and one of the persons that I like to work with is Sonny Boy Youngster, man. I mean,
Who I would have thought about like right out the gate.
yeah, that was a no-brainer right there. I just wanted to tell you about the there's no favorite artist, because I don't think you've ever heard anybody say it like that, which is true when it comes to rap, you know. But yeah, Sonny Boy Youngster, man, shout out again. He's been one of the people that supported my career, you know. Even when I was doing my drugs in the studio, and Sonny Boy was there, and he's one of the cats that never brought it up. Never told me, what are you doing? He never told me, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that.
He just accepted you of how you are.
Yeah, you know, just he took it for what it was, and where a lot of people frowned on it, I can honestly say that Sonny Boy Youngster never took it there with me, you know, and I respect that, because he's right. People should mind their own fucking business. And I've done stuff with because I wasn't scared to do what I would do in front of people. You know what I mean? Because I was
Pretty open about it.
Yeah, I was open about whatever drug use I was into. I was pretty open about it. I was a grown man. You know what I mean? In a grown folk setting. So I wouldn't ask for permission. I wouldn't ask if it was okay. All I would ask is if you wanted a hit, if you wanted, you know, I would just offer, you know. And I'm gonna give you some Kriminal trivia right here. Fun fact. I was in the studio with Sir Dino and from Dark Familia. And
What track were you guys recording?
we were recording Raza Loca 2. And I pulled out my sack and I told Sir Dino, you want a bump? And he said, nah, I'm good. I already knew Sunny Boy was good too. And I did my thing right there in the dark room studio, you know? He didn't say nothing about it, but like I said, I was open about my stuff, you know what I mean? I asked him if it was cool if I did my bump there. He said, yeah, that he did it. And we proceeded business as usual. But like I said, a lot of people took it out of context, I think, you know what I mean? About the drug use. And I was never want to try to pretend that about something I'm not. You know what I mean? That's why I rapped about it in my music, and a lot of people know it. And like I said, I think that's why a lot of people at the same time respected it. You know, because from when the Streets from the Studio came out, you know, I was telling you that No Love told me, hey man, the homies from the Bay don't like you. Well, besides that, my own homies from Tulare County were going around saying that I fell off because I was sucking the glass dick. And I said, what made them start gossiping about me? I asked somebody that came out of jail. You know, they came to my studio one day, and I told them, hey, so what are they saying about Kriminal right now? He said, huh? I go, I already know. As soon as they ask you where you're from and you say Woodlake, that my name comes up. So tell me. They say you fell off, that you're sucking on the glass dick. And I sat down with him and I said, oh yeah? Who was sucking it with me that's gossiping about it? And he said, no, they're saying because from the Streets to the Studio DVD that that you're the only one that didn't have a music video, or you're the only one that they weren't playing a music of. And I said, well, first off, that DVD was raw and uncut. There was nobody telling me what to do. They would just come around and turn the camera on. So if I would have been asked to do a music video, I would have done a music video. You know? So people just want to talk shit because it wasn't them on the DVD at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And because I was talking about other people's hoods that I shouldn't have been talking about. Man, miss me with that comadre shit, man. You know? They should be respectful enough to say, hey man, at least he didn't forget about us. It's the way I see it.
You were trying to give people props.
Exactly. I wasn't only trying to give me, myself, and I props. Anywhere I was standing, I was giving them props first. You know? And that's the way I always wrote my music, with that in mind, that hey, it can't just be you, yourself, and I. If you expect to be heard, you gotta make everybody around you be part of that jam. And that was always the way I approached my recordings.
Now, out of all the tracks that you've recorded over your career, which one's been your favorite?
My favorite track, I mean, as an artist, they were all my favorite tracks. That's why, that's why, you know, I recorded them.
Whichever one you were recording at the moment was your favorite.
Yeah, they're all my favorite tracks. But if you want me to pick one, I'm gonna say the Globy Jam.
Why that one?
it's me solo for one. It's you know, I'm solo on the track.
Did you
And
produce that yourself as well?
actually, I got that beat from a producer named Roach, and I slowed it down. But it's one of my faves because Tito B came up to me one day and or one time, and he said, "Hey, hey, Kriminal, that Globy jam, man, that's a dope jam. It's bad as fuck. I give you props." And you know, it made me feel a certain type of way because, like I was saying earlier, you know, like No Love telling me, "Hey, the homies from the Bay feeling you." You know what I mean?
That was reassurance right there that they were feeling you.
Oh, I had been knowing they were feeling me for a lot of reasons, but when Tito B came and told me, because on that Globy Jam, I talk about drug use, and they overseen all that. They were talking about maybe I'm a good rapper. You know what I mean? And that maybe that track is a hit. Just nobody knows it yet. But they know it. I, of course, knew it. And that's why it's probably my favorite track. And yeah, I already know what you could ask me next. So I've heard you say it before. That's the track I would like to do a video for. You
That's
know?
gonna be the next question. If you could do a music video, which one would it be for?
I see. I've watched your interviews. I studied you. I made sure I did my video binge
Be on point.
of Chicano style TV. You know, and that's all part of the game. You know, a lot of people. You know, if you want to get started in the game, you know, you gotta practice, and for me, that's a way of me of practicing. You know, Cardo Mack hit me up for an interview. I'm not gonna just lay around and wait for the day to come. I'm gonna see what he's done, who he's done it with, what he's asked.
Watch the whole marathon of Chicano style TV.
Yeah. Hey, and especially what he's asking, you know, and it's all part of the game. I mean, if you want to be good, you can't only be good at that. You got to be well rounded in everything, so you don't get hit with the blindside question. You know.
Let me ask you this: why was there never any music videos for any of your tracks?
Yeah. That's a good question because, I mean, it comes with the territory. I mean, you know, music, a music video, it comes with the territory, and
you had enough tracks out there to have.
I have
a
enough
music video
tracks out there. And what I was gonna say is, people ask me all the time, "Hey, Crime, let's record a video." I mean, like I said, it's part of the business. So I have people constantly asking, "Hey, let's do a video. Let's do a video." But for some reason, I would always be like, "I'll see." But my "I'll see," I was already thinking, nah. Nothing personal, but I think in the long run it panned out for me better because I still don't got no videos out there, and without video play, my music went a long way. You know, without a image. See, this is the thing. When I think about rap music, this is how I think of it. I didn't want to put a video out there because I didn't want people to not like what they saw. I wanted them to like what they heard. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So if there's no video, there's no way of not liking what you see. And with just the song out there,
You could give the song an opportunity rather than.
a visual that, oh man, I don't like that guy, he's short.
Yeah.
Or I don't like that guy, he's hella dark. You know? Or I don't he talks like a paisa. You know? Or he looks like a paisa. You know, I didn't want to give that. I wanted people to just listen to the music before they see the visual.
Yeah, and if you think about it, on your album covers too, you weren't on there. It was the artwork.
Exactly. You know, which was for a different reason. It had nothing to do with my looks or anything. It was just a way of me of keeping in touch with my brother at the time. You understand what I'm saying? But without even knowing, in the long run, it panned out for me good because
You were kind of incognito.
Exactly.
It's just the music that was out there
Exactly.
without image of who is Kriminal.
exactly, and that's what throws a lot of people off when they meet me. A lot of people, had to ask me 3, 4, 5 times if I'm really that guy. And once I get into talking, they're like, "Oh yeah, he is." Your voice. I've had people.
Even now, you don't look the same as when I saw you last time. Last time you had the big old beard going on. I think you had dreadlocks. Not dreadlocks, but
some braids.
braids, yeah.
Yeah. What I was gonna say. I've had people come up to me at car shows and ask me if I'm Kriminal, and I'd be like, "How do you know?" Because I know you don't know who I am. You never saw a picture of me. Because I know I've never made no videos. There's a few pictures out there of me, but anyway, they say,
Your voice.
"I heard you talking," and I said, "That got to be him." And yeah, I was right. And
I mean, your voice is very unique. If you're talking over here in the corner, I'm going to recognize it because your voice is very different.
yeah, that's another thing. When I was recording my albums, I wanted to sound like the way I sound when I'm talking to you, like the way I sound right now that we're having this interview. I always had that in mind. That hey, I want to rap like I'm talking to you, because I've seen a lot of rappers get in the booth and they completely 180 their voice. They completely flip it.
They get more into a character than themselves.
You put it this way. I wouldn't be able to tell it was them if I heard the music, if I didn't know it was them that recorded it. Just by the way they talk, because they sound totally different when they rap. So I'm not knocking it. I'm not hating on it. You could do what you want to do. I'm just saying that that's how I thought of it whenever I recorded my tracks, whenever it was my voice, that I'm gonna sound as real as I can, and that meant part of it my voice, because I didn't want to sound like somebody I wasn't when you met me. You feel me? And I think for the most part I did a good job on that. I think my voice came through as authentic as I talk, like me and you are sitting right now.
Now, as far as shows, you talked to us a little bit earlier about where you performed here locally, but did you ever perform out of state?
I'm not gonna say there were concerts. I'm gonna call them backyard boogie events. I get fans asking me to come out and I'm gonna say kind of like a meet and greet, but it's more on a personal basis where I'm actually staying at these people's houses, at my fans' houses. You know, I'm actually sitting, having dinner with their family, type of events.
It's way better. It's more of a personal interaction with your fans.
Yeah, I mean, that's my way of keeping. That's another way of me keeping it real. You know what I mean? And if somebody hits me up with a good deal, you know, I'm all for it. Let's do it. You know, people want me to come out 2-3 weeks. Why not? You know, let's have some fun. You know.
So outside of California, where do you think your biggest fan base is coming out of? I know we were talking earlier, and you have fans even overseas.
Yeah, and it's because of social media. I mean, for me to be talking to you, when did I say that I recorded "Ready for Eternity" 2004, the original? Yeah. We're in 2021. For me to be talking to you almost 20 years later about my music, to me is surreal. I mean,
and it's still in demand because I see like on your comments people asking you that they still want like physical hard copies.
Yeah, fans, I'm sorry, but no, no hard copies. You got to remember, as a CEO of my record label, I'm not gonna invest in something that ain't gonna be in our future. You know, digital downloads is where it's at, and digital downloads is where you could find my music.
I think a lot of people want the physical hard copies though because of the artwork too that's on there. Like I have some of your artwork up on my wall from like the inside of the CDs.
Well, if it is, you know, to those that do still have the artwork, man, I'm happy for you. It's something that nobody else will ever get. So
take care of it.
Take care of it, you know, post it, share it, and just know that it ain't never going to be duplicated because whatever's out there is out there. I'm not pressing no hard copies. I'm not going to do it. It's all
digital now.
It's all digital. Yeah.
So where would you say your biggest fan base is?
My biggest fan base, my biggest fan base is spread around. I can't really pinpoint a place because it's not really a big fan base. You know, a big fan base is somebody. To me, a big fan base would be somebody well known in Los Angeles. Like, you don't have to be known anywhere else. If they like you in LA, you got a big fan base. You understand what I'm saying? So, I would say my fan base is more spread around. It still would never reach a fan base of Los Angeles. That's part of the reason I got more fame than money because I'm coming out of Tulare County. I mean, it's farmland. It's very small towns. I mean, if I would have came out of anywhere else, like even Guadalajara, Jalisco, one of the biggest cities in the world, you know.
Hey, rap in Mexico's big right now.
And you know what? A lot of my fan base it comes from Mexico. A lot of it does. You know, if we're talking United States, we're talking Immokalee, Florida, North Carolina, Yakima, Washington, Spokane, Washington.
So you're reaching coast to coast.
Oh yeah. I don't know about New York, but I'm getting North Carolina is not too far away. You know, Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, There's a lot of raza over there.
Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. But man, what intrigues me now is when I see digital downloads from Australia, Japan, you know. Like I said, in 2004, I never thought my music would be selling digitally in Hawaii or.
So because you're in charge of your music, you're seeing where it's being downloaded at,
Oh,
right?
of course, and it might not be the numbers, like I said, of a well-known artist with a big fan base,
But they're spread around everywhere.
but besides the money thing, is I'm grateful to have a fan base. Period. Coming out of where we're having our interview today, a little town like Woodlake. You know what I mean? Because what is it? It's about midnight. There ain't nobody out here on the streets right now.
Me and you.
So, just to know that my raps reached places that I never even imagined is
It's humbling.
it makes me feel good. You know, it makes me feel good because who would have known? Had I known, I should have recorded more music. Had I known, you know, instead of having a 10-album catalog, I could have had a 30-album catalog. Had I known. But you got to remember, Cardomac, that when I was recording, there was no social media. So feedback, or like nowadays, comments or likes came slowly. They came slowly. And they didn't come to me. I had to go out of my way to get those comments, to get the likes from the people actually meeting me and me actually meeting my fans. It was a face-to-face. It was not no...
Which you're still doing that with the meet and greets out of state.
Yeah, it was not a screenshot. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was our way of social media. You actually had to be out there shaking hands. You know what I mean? You had to be actually out there shaking hands with the people. So it came slowly. It came slowly. But I'm still pushing. I'm not done.